morning. This reminds me of a year or two ago. I was standing on the same podium addressing another group of youths. This way at the invitation of the United Nations to celebrate Youth Day. So I'm excited to be here with you again today. I've been tasked to speak on patriotism. I often speak impromptu without anything, but I thought because the issues at stake are quite pertinent, I should not misguide myself and leave myself to any chance of forgetting what might be important. I want to begin by reading a letter to you that was written by King Leopold II, a man who ruled the now country of DRC, Congo, and he ruled this from 1865 about there, running through up to around 1908. Now listen to this story very well, because Congo, the country we know, was property of this man. He actually owned it and the people that were found in there. He owned the minerals and everything, owned by one man living in Belgium. Now he writes a letter to the missionaries that were commissioned to go and evangelize in Congo at that time. This is what he writes. He says, "Reverends, fathers, and dear compatriots, the task that is given to fulfill is very delicate and requires tact. You will go certainly to evangelize, but your evangelization must inspire above all Belgian interests." Why they came, the missionaries, to foster Belgian interests, he says. "Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the niggers to know God. This they know already." By the way, this has been inspired by a talk. I was listening to my young brother last week speaking to youths again like this, and he's the one who inspired this talk because he read this letter. So the next time you might think of inviting my young brother, it's quite deep than I might be. So he says, this they know already. The niggers know that there's God. Actually says they know that to kill, to sleep with somebody's wife, to lie, to insult is bad. Have courage to admit it. Admit that this they know. You are not going to teach them what they know already. Your essential role is to facilitate the task of administrators and industrials, which means you will go to interpret the gospel in the way it will be the best to protect your interest in that part of the world. Then he says, your knowledge of the gospel will allow you to find text ordering and encourage your followers to love poverty. Such verses as, "Happier are the poor because they will inherit the kingdom of heaven." And it's very difficult for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. You have to detach from them and make them disrespect everything which gives courage to affront. In some parts of his letter he says, the children have to learn to obey what the missionary recommends, who is the father of their souls. You must singularly insist on their total submission and obedience. Avoid developing the spirit in the schools. Teach students to read and not to reason. And that is why, for those of you that closely follow me would know that very recently I wrote an article in which I highly spoke against even our leading institutions, of which I'm an alumni of, such as the University of Zambia. I've been there twice for my undergraduate and postgraduate. I have taught there for some time. I've lectured through Apex Medical School, even in Horn and a few other colleges. But I'll tell you that our education is calculated to foster a people that can read but can't reason. A people that can memorize but can't apply what they have learned. There is a need to decolonize our education, a need to decolonize our religion, because even the religion we have learned needs decolonization. It was calculated to subjugate. There is a true Christianity to which we must subscribe, but most of what we are learning. I was actually reviewing a certain paper authored by a scholar from a university in Ghana, in which he was doing a comparison study between Muslim nations and Christian nations. Did you know that the poorest of countries in sub-Saharan Africa, actually in the total of Africa, are Christian nations? Christianity went to America and made America rich. Christianity went to Europe, made Europe rich. It arrived in Africa and made Africa poor. Because even for a solution you must think, you will shout amen. You see, we go to church and bind economical problems. Economical problems you do not bind. They don't require prayer. They require mental and intellectual engagement. If prayer was a solution to economical challenges, then China would definitely not be where it is, because they do not pray as Africa does. Now, allow me to, because my time should not go beyond 10 minutes, allow me to speak to the subject in 5 and maybe summarize. Now, my topic was youth patriotism to national development. I picked my definition of patriotism from the Oxford Dictionary that says it is to devote oneself to a nation or to vigorously support a nation. Now, why I took you to Congo and talked about King Leopold is because you and I understand that in 1884, running up to 1885, we have the Berlin Conference called upon by Bismarck. 14 European countries, together with America, agree that they must divide Africa into little colonies that they must own. And you see, they foster their interest here. They live, and they leave you with an education, which we're still doing. I want you to know that the little countries that were formed, if they have hope of development, they need to take issues in their own hands. Salvation for Africa will not come from without. Salvation will come from within. I can guarantee you that there is no person in Europe who does not sleep on account of Africa. If it is true, then it must be true that you also don't sleep, because through the night you are thinking of what people are eating in India. If you don't think of that, why do you think Europe thinks about it? Now, I should mention that the solutions lie with you young people. You know that the changes we have seen over civilization, the revolutions we have seen, have all been wrought by young people. You know too well, if I take you into biblical accounts, in 605 BC, you know the 3 Hebrew boys are taken to Babylon, the then superpower. They create a revolution and change things. Did you know they were only 17? The young man Joseph in Egypt, who brought a revolution and actually supplied a solution to a crisis of a famine, was a young man of 17. You that call yourselves a Christian nation should know that if you read through all your books of 1 Kings and 2 Kings, none of the kings was above the age of 35. The youngest being Josiah was 8 years. And the Bible records and says of all the kings that lived before him, of all the kings that lived before him or after him, none performed so well as him. That is why maybe Paul tells the young man Timothy, and he says, let no one despise him for being a young person. You read of Alexander the Great, he was only 25 when he conquered the whole of Europe. You read of Isaac Newton, who made his discoveries of the laws of motion just as a young person. You and I know too well that Mozart at the age of 8 was composing classical music to international standard. What is your excuse? Now, if you're going to be patriotic, you must devote yourself. And what should the young Zambian devote himself to? Number one, you must devote yourself to education. You are not patriotic if you do not respect education. Because there is a strong correlation between education and development. Any country that records low literacy levels, it only goes through to say would equally be a poor nation. So you, beginning with yourself, must respect education and you must educate yourself very well. It saddens me to look at the statistics and know that if you look at the dropout rate of young people from education, from tertiary schools, from primary schools, Africa leads in this. While Europe, the rate of uneducation, young people dropping out of school, stands at 2%, Africa stands at 19%. Stands at 53% when you look at those who are in tertiary education. We must change that narrative. You must devote yourself as a young person to peace. You must understand that there is no nation that develops without peace. And you must know that every conflict, its capital are the youths. You must know that the Rwandan genocide of 1994, happening between the Tutsis and the Hutus, in exactly 3 days they have slaughtered 200,000 people, was a genocide conducted by young people. And sometimes I look at young people, misguided, and they post on Facebook, and they say Zambia can't go to war because we're a Christian nation. Who tells you? Do you know that when Rwanda went into a genocide, it was the most Christian nation on earth, having its population over 90% Christian? Do you know that some of the people that were convicted by the International Criminal Court in Uganda are clergy, priests, and pastors? Do you know that one of the mornings a pastor went and pulled a group of militia to come and slaughter 5,000 people that were seeking for refuge in his church on a day of worship? You must understand that peace is not sustained by purely theologizing, us meeting and shouting hallelujah. It goes to the core of conviction. And that is why as young people we must have honest conversations. As a nation, we must have honest conversations and say we'll sit and talk about this. Well, innovations, we must innovate if we are going to develop. Commit yourself to innovation. I want to see on Facebook us having conversations on 3D printing, on biotechnology, on nanotechnology, on artificial intelligence, on satellites, on drones, and all these other things, renewable energy. It is sad that when a scandal floats on Facebook, you'll find everyone has an opinion. And I was saying, you see, Facebook has so much junk to keep an idle mind busy for the whole day. And that is, you see, the world has never been deficient of people to channel out junk. And it is junk in, junk out. As an individual, if you're going to be patriotic, you must commit yourself to following substance, to installing substance. I'll conclude by saying, there are many things I could have shared with you, but so allow me to make my conclusion. I'll make my conclusion and say, we must be patriotic by devoting ourselves and vigorously supporting virtues, principles that will see this nation move forward. May God bless you. And I'll end here for now.